Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, kind of wanted to show you what we're seeing out in the cornfields now. We've got some diseases starting to show up. I wanted to talk about a few of those kinds of things. We're at that stage where this corn's not quite there yet. It's a little later maturity corn, but we're getting into that tassel time. We're starting to see silks out. It's time to start looking into the fungicide part of the equation here and make some of those decisions. We've got a little different environment than we've had the last couple of years, obviously. We've got more humidity, maybe not quite as much heat. That favors a lot of the diseases that we have in this part of the country, what we typically have risk of. It's not hard to find rust out this year. Rust is a disease that we don't have overwintering here, but it blows up from the south. Those spores, when the crop south of us has spores that, they get up into the air currents, and they can be deposited in here by just falling out of the air with the air blowing from the south or rain. I wonder if we didn't get a bunch of rust spores come up with all that heavy rain period we had, because a lot of the rust I see on these plants is, lower on the plant. Rust spores deposit from the rain or the wind, come down into the whorl. They infect that tissue around that. That's where the damage is. That's why usually you'll see rust in kind of a band on a leaf. I think that might be why we had rust show up. I don't see it be a real problem here. It's not hard to find, but it's not bad. But that's a disease that you're probably going to see most prevalent, but not real bad as far as damage potential. And that's common rust, not southern. If we think about the weather conditions, and I'll have a chart here at the end showing the conditions that different diseases favor. A lot of them like this, 68 to 78 type weather, temperature, and then we need usually, some damp conditions, humidity, rains, damp canopy, humid in the canopy, those types of things. We've got a lot more of that this year than we've had the last couple years. Chance of rain this weekend again, probably raining now, here later today. So we're going to continue to have damp conditions, probably a lot more dew, and then leaf wetness. Gossa's wilt's not hard to find this year. The conditions we've had have been conducive to that. That hot period we had a little while ago, we've got some definite Gossa's wilt showing up. Diseases that we expect to maybe see would, with this cooler, cloudy, rainy kind of weather, I kind of wonder if we're not going to maybe have potential to see some eye spot. That prefers cooler weather. Northern corn leaf blight has a little bit wider range of temperatures that it likes. So those are kind of some of the things that I expect maybe could happen. The discussion around should I or should I not apply a fungicide, the discussion's been should go out in your fields and scout for disease, and if you see disease, make that decision. Challenge with that is a lot of these diseases, and I'll start back, the fungicides we're using, the value they usually provide is mostly preventative. They're trying to get on and apply that, or get onto that leaf, protect that plant before the disease comes in, i.e. preventing an infection. The problem with going out and trying to look for a disease, see infestation, and then decide to apply right away, if you have control of the whole system, you can do that. But that becomes difficult when we try and get into, can we get out and look at a field every 2 days and see if there's anything happening? Make that decision. Can we go, it'd be like calling in an airstrike. Can we get that plane to fly on, or these drones to be here within a day or two? That's difficult. It'd be ideal, but it's really difficult. The value, there's higher priced fungicides. The new fungicides are more costly, but the value they bring is they have extended residual life, so they last longer protecting these plants, and that can be important to get some value out of those things. So that's something to consider and think about. The other thing that it's too late to do anything obviously about it now, but there is a lot of difference in hybrids. We've all seen that with Gossa's wilt. If you've had those in the past, there's a lot of differences in how the hybrids fight them off themselves. But most diseases are that way. There's certain hybrids that'll fight off eye spot better, or northern corn leaf blight, or gray leaf spot. All those things are factors to consider. And if you start seeing some gray leaf spots show up, or some northern corn leaf blight, then I'd go back to your seed guides and see which hybrids that you have are more susceptible. Those will be the ones I'd be looking at first. So that's just something that's what we do If we start seeing a disease, we kind of look at what hybrids are most susceptible and make sure we get those treated if we can. So I've got some conditions here. I'll show you what certain diseases favor. Two diseases to keep in mind: Goss's wilt and bacterial leaf streak are two that I see them out here. They're bacterial diseases. The fungicides will do nothing to those. They are not fungal pathogens, they're bacterial. So fungicides are going to target the other diseases, so just keep that in mind. If you see a lot of Goss's wilt, going out and applying a fungicide is not going to do anything for you. So I guess I just wanted to bring you up to speed with what we're seeing out in the fields, and something we can have an impact yet now, especially with the damp conditions we have. So one final note, I am seeing a lot of corn aphids out in these fields. They like cooler, damp conditions, lush canopies. If you're in an area that's had a problem with those in the past, be aware they're probably out there. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.